this is drugs. This is your brain on drugs. Any questions?
Hey there, my name is Salendrak, and welcome to the first boss guide video in my Terraria 1.4 Journey's End Beginner's Guide series. In this episode, we're going to be taking apart the Eye of Cthulhu on all difficulty levels, so you'll know what to do to emerge victorious. In the last guide, we covered early game gearing and discussed how to know when you're ready to start fighting bosses. In this video, we'll assume you're ready to go, but if you need a refresher from the last episode, here's a link up in the corner. But once you've finished watching this video, you should be fully confident in your ability to prepare for and take down your first major challenge, the Eye of Cthulhu. As with all episodes in the series, if you find this video helpful, informative, or at the very least somewhat entertaining, please hit that like button and subscribe so you'll be notified of future entries. Now let's get to it! There are two ways to start a rumble with the Eye of Cthulhu. A natural spawn has a 33% chance to occur when night starts if the Eye has never been defeated in this world, any one player in the world has at least 200 max health and more than 10 defense, and there are at least 3 NPCs. If a natural spawn happens, you'll see a message that you feel an evil presence watching you at the bottom of the screen, and about a minute later the Eye will attack. Once the Eye is defeated, a natural spawn can never happen again in your world, so if you want to fight it more, or don't want to wait for a natural spawn to occur if you haven't defeated it yet, you can spawn it manually by crafting a suspicious looking eye item and then using it at night. It is easily crafted, requiring only 6 lenses that has a 1 in 3 chance to drop from demon eyes that fly around at night. Note that in order to craft it, you must go to an evil altar, which is commonly found in your world's evil biome. Demon altars in corruption worlds and crimson altars in crimson worlds. Unlike the natural spawn warning, when you summon using a suspicious looking eye, the boss will spawn immediately, so make sure you're ready first. And speaking of being ready first, here's a few things you might want to prepare before the fight to maximize your chances of success, especially on the higher difficulty levels. In the last episode, I already covered a fighting arena and basic gear, including mobility items, so I won't go over that again here. But in addition to gear and fighting arena buffs, you should also consider a few powerful buff potions that can be extremely helpful when you're taking down any boss for the first time in a world, especially in Expert and Master mode. 3 options that are easy to acquire in the early game are the Iron Skin Potion, Swiftness Potion, and Regeneration Potion. Iron Skin increases your defense by 8, which in the early game can provide quite a significant boost to your overall damage reduction. Crafting it requires only a bottled water, a day bloom, and either a lead or iron ore. The Swiftness Potion increases your movement speed by a whopping 25% and is made with bottled water, a blink root, and a piece of cactus. And the Regeneration Potion will restore 2 HP per second and is crafted with the bottled water, a day bloom, and a mushroom. All of these buffs last for 8 minutes, so chug them right before the fight and you'll be good to go. Other potions you might want to use, particularly on first time kills in a world if you're learning the fight or on higher difficulties, are the Archery Potion for 20% increased arrow speed and damage if you're using bows, the Endurance Potion for a flat 10% damage reduction, Magic Power and Magic Regeneration Potions if you're using magic weapons, and depending on what your world's evil biome is, you can get Wrath Potions and Thorn Potions in Corruption worlds for 10% increased damage and some damage reflection respectively, and in Crimson worlds, you can make Rage Potions for 10% increased critical strike chance and Heart Reach Potions, which makes picking up recovery hearts have a much larger range. For recipes for these potions and others I haven't mentioned, check the wiki or just show a bottled water to your guide. One last topic to cover before we get to the fight itself, and that is some movement techniques. In the immortal words of the Karate Kid's Mr. Miyagi, the best way to avoid taking damage,
no be there.
Movement and your ability to dodge is by far your best defense in Terraria, and the Eye of Cthulhu is a great time to practice an extremely useful technique commonly known as the Grapple jump. Your grappling hook is a great way to move between levels of your fighting arena, but if you tap your jump key just as you get close to the hook's end, you'll seamlessly launch yourself above the platform rather than stopping at it and then jumping to get on top. Even better, this technique can be used to change direction without losing any speed, so that you won't have to re-accelerate even when using speed boots. This is extremely useful for fighting the Eye, as we'll see later. To learn the technique, practice standing still and grapple jumping straight up through a level of platforms. The better you get at the timing, the higher you'll go. Then practice doing it in different directions while standing still, as the distance the hook travels will impact the timing of your jump. If you get really good, you can even practice moving up multiple levels with your feet never setting down. And finally, add some movement. To grapple jump to change directions, you'll need to practice the angle you shoot your hook, which will generally be a little bit to the side of center, the opposite direction that you're moving. Shoot it out too far and it will miss the platform entirely. Oh, and be sure to press the new direction key before you land, and you'll continue moving in that direction at max speed. Now you're moving like a pro. So let's start talking about the fight itself, beginning with the Eye's attacks and the phases of the battle. On all difficulties, the fight has two phases. In the first phase, when the Eye is intact, it will alternate between two movement patterns. In the first pattern, it will try to hover over your character and will summon several servants of Cthulhu, which are like mini demon eyes. These little guys are killed in one hit by just about any weapon you'll be using for the fight, but the damage they deal can add up and they can interfere with your movement, so you'll want to be sure to avoid them and take them out before there's too many flying around. Piercing weapons such as shuriken, throwing knives, or jester's arrows are particularly effective against them, though they might take more than one hit on Master Mode. After summoning 3 or 4 servants, the Eye of Cthulhu will then charge at you 3 times. On all difficulties, the Phase 1 charges are pretty slow and easy to dodge. Remember the grapple jump we talked about a minute ago? This is a great time to use it. The Eye always goes in a straight line, heading to your location at the moment the charge begins. So an easy way to avoid it, other than always moving, is to grapple jump over it just as it starts to charge. Dropping down a level is also very effective. In general, it works well to have your direction of movement be either the opposite direction or perpendicular to the Eye's charge, particularly when you're close to it. So if it's coming up from below to the left, grapple jump over it to the upper left. And if it's coming down to you from above to your right, drop underneath it to your right. Phase 2 starts when it reaches 50% health in normal difficulty and 65% health in expert or master mode. The Eye will spin around in a circle and, in higher difficulties, will launch a bunch of servants out and then change shape, losing its iris to reveal a mean-looking mouth. Its defense drops to 0, so your weapons will do more damage, but its damage output also goes up. During this phase, it will not summon any more servants, but instead will start to charge you more frequently. In normal mode, the charges remain slow and easy to dodge simply by running away, using your grapple jump, or dropping to a lower platform, just as in Phase 1. But on Expert and Master mode, things start to get dicey, as the Eye will start to do extra fast charges after its normal charges. As its health goes down, it will do more fast charges and less slow charges, and eventually doing non-stop fast ones. This can make hitting it and avoiding damage quite a challenge, as the direction of the fast ones isn't always consistently towards you. It's pretty random. In general, I try to aim for the Eye at the end of its charges. If it's going up, I aim high. If it's going down, I aim low. On these higher difficulties, a longer arena can be extremely helpful, as maintaining your speed in a straight line is the best way to avoid taking damage, while changing direction and crossing the Eye's path can be dangerous. Be sure to have at least a double row of platforms though, as a direction-changing grapple jump is your best bet if you need to head back in the other direction. As for specific gear you'll want to use for the fight, I won't cover any class loadouts here for 2 reasons. First, this early in the game there is no need to adopt a specific class loadout. You're better off using whatever the best weapon you have happens to be. And second, well, I haven't covered classes yet in this series anyways and don't want to confuse anyone. If you're on normal difficulty, the Eye of Cthulhu can be taken down with just about any form of ranged weapon and is pretty easy to beat completely naked with nothing more than a grappling hook, if even that. 400 or so shuriken from the merchant can be used, or you can buy throwing knives from him during a blood moon for even more damage. Any metal bow with frostburn and or jester arrows also works pretty well. I wouldn't recommend any melee weapons though, including yo-yos, as their range is pretty short and they're just not all that effective on a high movement battle. On the higher difficulties, your best bet for taking down the eye is most likely going to be guns. Although a good bow with jester's arrows works great for clearing out the servants, in phase 2 you'll want the projectile speed of bullets to be able to hit the eye as much as possible when it starts spazzing around all over the screen. The mini shark is pretty effective at all difficulty levels, especially if you have plenty of silver or tungsten bullets, which can either be crafted or purchased from the arms dealer during a blood moon. The mini shark is a bit expensive though, so if you can't afford it, the boomstick from the jungle also works well, as does the musket or undertaker from smashing shadow orbs or crimson hearts from your world's evil biomes. For accessories, anything that boosts your movement is a definite plus. I highly recommend using speed boots of some sort, as well as a cloud in the bottle type of item for a double jump. A band of regeneration can be nice to boost your life regen, and if you have the goblin already, re-rolling items to warding can be used if you're finding the fight difficult at higher levels. For the most part though, the Eye of Cthulhu isn't terribly hard, even on Master Mode, so long as you've got decent gear, a spacious fighting arena, and have a few good buffs activated. And once you've defeated him, the Dryad NPC will want to move in, and you'll be able to start crafting items with your world's evil ore. But in order to craft all the evil ore items, you're going to need additional materials from your world's second boss, the Brain of Cthulhu in Crimson Worlds or the Eater of Worlds in Corruption Worlds, which we'll cover in later videos. That's all for today. Now that we've got the Dryad NPC, I think the next video will cover setting up a proper alchemy lab, talk about potion and food buffs, and maybe go over fishing. After that, we'll get back to bosses and take down the Brain of Cthulhu and the Eater of Worlds, though I might mix in a For the Worthy Master Mode playthrough series as well. If you enjoyed the video, please smash that like button and be sure to subscribe so you'll know when the next ones come out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers!